listening to your brain on air. The program will begin shortly. Enjoy.
Klausotės savo smegenų eteryje. Programa prasidės netrukus. Mėgaukitės.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm your host, YBOA Larson, and we got quite a fresh set for you today, folks. We got quite a few stories. It's November 10th. I can't believe it. We are already 10 days in November. It doesn't feel like it. I know. Time feels like it's flying. It feels like it's only getting quicker the older I get. You know what I mean? It's weirding me out. I'm sure it's weirding you out because I'm sure that you didn't expect this weekend to blow by as quickly as it did, but it did. It's almost as though it never even happened. Folks, we got a lot coming out of the White House. To be frank, a lot of today's stories center around what Washington is up to, because there's quite a lot that they're up to. Speaking of which, Trump has proposed a potential $2,000 stimulus check. Broke-ass bitches across the country are preemptively celebrating. On November 9th, 2025, President Donald Trump reignited discussions on economic relief by announcing on Truth Social his intention to distribute at least $2,000 per person to low and middle-income Americans, funded entirely by revenues from the sweeping tariffs his administration imposed earlier this year on imports from China, Mexico, and other trading partners. In a series of posts, Trump described the payments as a dividend from the trillions of dollars generated by these tariffs, emphasizing that these funds would first cover the checks before any surplus goes towards paying down the nation's $38 trillion debt. That's a crazy amount of money. A dividend of at least $2,000 a person, not including high-income people, will be paid to everyone, he wrote, framing it as proof that tariffs are, quote, resetting the global commerce and returning money directly to U.S. citizens. This isn't Trump's first flirtation with the idea. He floated similar rebates ranging from $1,000 to $2,000 in October during a Pennsylvania rally, tying to his America First agenda. The announcement comes amid a prolonged government shutdown that has delayed SNAP benefits for 42 million Americans and heightened unaffordability concerns, with polls showing inflation and housing costs as top voter worries ahead of the 2026 midterms. While the proposal evokes memories of the COVID-19 era stimulus checks, I'm sure all of you can think about that. $1,200 and $600, $1,400 signed into law during President Trump's first term, and then under President Biden, these tariff dividends differ in funding and scope. Unlike pandemic aid, which totaled over $800 billion and was distributed via the IRS-based tax filings, phasing out for individuals earning above $75,000 or couples who earn above $150,000, Trump's plan excludes only, quote, high-income people without specifying thresholds, potentially qualifying hundreds of millions of Americans. A back-of-the-envelope estimate pegs the cost at around $326 billion for the 163 million adults, assuming similar eligibility. Delivery could mirror past efforts. Direct deposits with a week for those with IRS filings, within a week for those with IRS filings, though paper checks might lag. However, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent tempered expectations on ABC News, stating he hadn't discussed a plan with Trump yet, but rebates, quote, could come in many forms other than a check, hinting that alternatives like tax credits, earlier 2025 proposals such as Senator Josh Hawley's American Worker Rebate Act, minimum $600 per adult, and the DOGE dividend from the government cuts fizzled without congressional approval, underscoring the hurdles ahead. The reaction has been swift and polarized, bending excitement with skepticism over feasibility and timing. Because quite frankly, supporters, including crypto enthusiasts on X, are hailing it as a bullish catalyst, potentially fueling an alt session like the 2020 to 2021 time, while stocks like Palantir jumped 6% on speculation of boosted consumer spending. Critics from the Democrats like Representative Roe Canna, who proposed his own $2,000 checks for under $100,000 households to economists, warned that tariffs act as regressive act, projecting an extra $1,300 per household in 2025 costs, passed from businesses to consumers, effectively making making the rebate a wash or net loss for many. Progressive voices have decried the timing as tone deaf amid snap delays, with one ex-user quipping, "Trump wants to give $2,000 while urging SCOTUS to suspend food aid. 42 million could lose benefits this November. Legally, the plan faces headwinds. Congress holds the purse strings, and the ongoing shutdown, nearing resolution via bipartisan bill, we'll get to that later, delays action. Plus, the looming Supreme Court case on tariff legality could invalidate the revenue source, forcing refunds to foreign entities and ballooning the costs. Trump dismissed opponents as fools, but the White House emphasized tariffs' role in national security and manufacturing in the revival we've had as of late. As of November 10th, no bill has been introduced, and experts predict months of debate before any checks materialize, if at all, leaving Americans to weigh the promise against the politics. It sucks, folks, but who knows? You could have that coming in the mail. Let's be real here. The stimulus checks, they went out last time. They benefited us quite a bit because, the economy was in the shitter. A lot of people didn't have jobs. We were in a tough spot as Americans. And, there were some people who went out to buy Balenciaga with that check. And that's, it's their right as Americans. It's as long as they're helping fund, fuel the economy. I'm guessing that's all that they're really trying to do with these stimulus checks. They're called stimulus checks for a reason. They're to stimulate, the American economy. And, we're going to see where this goes. Until then, let's hear a clip from this person directly from Capitol Hill.
And Joe, a lot of people are talking about this. President Donald Trump teased the idea of sending out $2,000 checks to families because of his tariff policy and the money that's coming in. Is there a reason for people to be skeptical of the president's idea?
Many.
And I know a lot of people maybe are putting down their coffee cup as we talk about this story. Who doesn't want money from the government coming back, right? We can all use it coming up on the holiday season. There's reason to be skeptical about this policy ever coming to fruition. One, the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, on the Sunday Public Affairs show was asked about it, and he didn't seem to roll out or suggest there was an imminent big policy announcement to be made. If something was happening quick, soon, the Treasury Secretary would have been more candid and more involved. Secondly, remember what the Supreme Court could do in the coming weeks. They could strike down President Trump's ability to even issue these tariffs in the first place that has raised tens of billions of dollars. It's making it possible for the president to talk about the idea of this tariff dividend check to Americans. It's possible the president loses that power by the Supreme Court in an upcoming opinion, and then you're talking about the idea of, well, does that money need to go back to companies and businesses that paid it? Again, reason to be skeptical about this $2,000 promise from President Trump on Truth Social over the weekend.
Joe St. George live in Washington, D.C. Thank you as always. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe St. George. We really appreciate it, folks. Broke bitches are going to rejoice. EBT is still off in some states. You know what I mean? Massachusetts, I think, is one of the states that let it happen. You know what I mean? You saw black people on TikTok dancing, going like, let's go to Taco Bell. Come on. EBT just got replenished. And I'm like, good for them. I'm happy if that's the case. Whatever's going on, folks, just, do you really need the $2,000? Yes, of course you do. You know what I mean? All Americans do. I don't trust what everybody's going to spend it on, but it's not really my job to tell them what to spend it on. In all honesty, the federal government takes more than it gives in most cases, so I'm perfectly fine with them giving us a little bit of something for putting up with what we have with. You know what I mean? In the last few years, let's be honest. Not just Trump, Biden as well. All right, folks, let's do a break for an ad real quick, as a matter of fact, because, folks, are you tired of healthcare's copays and questions? Introducing Obamacare Plus, now with 44% more hope and zero accountability. For 3 easy payments of your life savings, you can get an autographed, maybe photoshopped presidential photo, telehealth that's just a busy signal, and a miracle coverage that is voter's remorse for spontaneous combustion, folks. Cha-ching, now call and get the Biden bonus pack. I did that stickers for your gas pump. Not affiliated with ACA, Obama, or decency. Side effects include bankruptcy, audits, void where there is common sense supposed to be. Obamacare Plus, folks. Change starts when your wallet stops. 1-800-NO-OBAMACARES. Use code YBOA for your first, whatever. If you're diabetic, you can get your insulin there. If you're Alzheimer's ridden, you don't even know how to pick up the phone at this point. Folks, We got a second story for you. I'm really excited to cover this one. The United States shutdown is nearing the end with a breakthrough in the Senate vote. The 2025 United States federal government shutdown, which began on October 1st, as we all remember, after Congress failed to pass a new spending bill before its fiscal year's end, has become the longest in American history at 41 days as of November 10th. This impasse stemmed from the deep partisan divides over the federal spending priorities, including cuts to the Affordable Care Act, the ACA, subsidies set to expire at the year's end, and broader budget reforms under the Trump administration's, quote, One Beautiful Bill Act, which slashed medical welfare programs. Republicans pushed for a continuing resolution extending funding through November without ACA extensions, because it's impossible for them to do that at this point. Because the premiums are already being raised. You can't preemptively go back and fix that bullshit. While Democrats demanded protections for healthcare affordability, leading to repeated procedural blocks in the Senate. Essential services like national security and air traffic control have continued, but non-essential operations have halted, furloughing hundreds of thousands of federal workers and contractors. As we all know, if you know anyone who's been working at a government building or out at all, they've been bitching. It's like, you know what? Guess what? I didn't do this. I'm sorry. Whatever. I don't want to hear about how hard it is for you at work. It's hard for everybody else every day. You know what I mean? Good for you. I'm sorry that you're not getting paid. I don't know what to say. The crisis escalated public frustration, with polls showing widespread blame on Republicans, contributing to their losses in the off-year elections on November 4th. The shutdown's impact has rippled across daily life, economy, and safety nets. Over 800,000 federal employees faced delayed paychecks, though retroactive under law, triggering financial strain for many, including missed mortgages and reliance on food banks. God, guys, I'm sorry. I need to get better at reading the shit ahead. You know what I mean? If it's my own words, I shouldn't struggle that much. Or if it's fucking our news articles, I gotta preemptively read that shit. The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, SNAP, serving 42 million low-income Americans, saw November benefits paused by the administration despite congressional contingency funds. Although a federal judge's order to pay in full was temporarily blocked by the Supreme Court on November 7th, leaving millions at risk of hunger. It sucks, you know what I mean? But, it's regrettable. Air travel ground is to halt with thousands of cancellations. The Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, cut capacity by 10% at 40 of the major airports starting November 7th due to staffing shortages, as air traffic controllers deemed essential worked unpaid amid sick calls and retirement, up from 4 to 15 to 20 per day. This led to widespread delays, stranding travelers and costing airlines millions, while national parks closed and veteran services lagged. Economically, the shutdown shaved an estimated 0.2% off the GDP growth, with gold prices surging past $4,000 per ounce on uncertainty before the deal's emergence boosted stocks. In a dramatic bipartisan breakthrough, though, on November 9th, the Senate voted 60-40 to advance a short-term funding bill, with 8 moderate Democrats, including Senator Jeanine Shaheen, Democratic from New Hampshire, Mark Kelly. Hell yes, Mark Kelly! Listen, folks, Mark Kelly is a guy to bet on. Oh, hi. Are you awake? Are you awake? Okay, there's a cat in here, folks. I'm sorry. This is actually the secret. I actually should... Here, hold on a second. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get this microphone in her face. Do you have something to say? Is that it? You got nothing else, though? Okay. I'm sorry. See, now you cannot ignore me. You, the audience, cannot ignore me, because now I have the secret. I've told you. It's like when Alex Jones got llamas. It's like, I've been telling you about the New World Order. I've been telling you about the government robbing you, coming to steal your shit. I've been telling you about radical Islam slowly making its way into the West, but all of you have been ignoring me. But now you cannot, because I have a cat. I have a cat on my show, and now no one can ignore me. You have anything to say to close out? No? Miss Mare? Alright, fine. I can't get any more words from her. She's very silent. Oh shit, she wants to leave. Alright, fine. I'll let you out. You don't want to be in here? Head out. Alright. Sorry about that, folks. I had to let this little girl out. She falls asleep on my shit. And then she wakes up and she realizes that she doesn't want to listen to me yell. So she leaves. Mark Kelly, anyways, folks, he was one that went ahead and crossed the party lines to join Republicans, along with Angus King, an independent from Maine. I'm retarded. Crossing party lines to join Republicans. Mark Kelly, guys, he's a former astronaut. He is a Democrat from Arizona. He potentially could be our next president if we get behind a solid candidate like him, if we get behind a moderate, if we get behind someone who can reach across party lines and really make shit work. Mark Kelly, keep him in your mind, keep him in your mind's eye, go do some research on him, like look into his prior shit. He's a good one to keep your eye on. He's a solid bet for the Democrats. They're defying the minority leader, Chuck Schumer's unified front. The deal, negotiated in closed-door sessions involving Senate Majority Leader John Thune from South Dakota and White House input, provides a clean, continuing resolution funding the government through January 30th, 2026, restores full-year appropriations for the federal, for the FDA, agricultural, veterans affairs, military construction, and legislative operations, reverses Trump-initiated layoffs on federal workers, and guarantees retroactive pay. Crucially, it funds SNAP through September 2026, averting immediate food aid cliffs, and omits ACA's subsidies extensions, a major Democratic concession. It's whatever. They were not going to get it in the first place, and it was a ridiculous thing to hold shit up over. Schumer is like Bibi Netanyahu levels of the devil for that one. Seriously, he needs to be out of there. Schumer is a ridiculous piece of shit who holds the Democratic Party back, and I'm sorry, he was holding the Senate hostage just to forward these ACA bullshit things that were never going to get furthered in any situation. I'm sorry. He was fine with your kids starving in order to push through Democratic bullshit. He was absolutely in favor of that. I'm sorry. It's just factually true. We need to be true about the Democrats that we need to call out. You know what I mean? Sparking backlash from progressives like Ro Khanna from California, who called for Schumer's replacement. The measure now heads a Republican-controlled House for a likely swift vote this week, followed by President Trump's expected signature, potentially reopening agencies by mid-November. Folks, we need to celebrate this. We need to make sure that we are like, when our government does something decent, or when it does what it should be doing, we need to celebrate it. Otherwise, how are they going to know? Thune urged immediate action to, quote, end the pain, while Schumer vowed to fight for healthcare in the December votes. Do you know what that's code for? I'm gonna fucking kill that bill like I'm Uma Thurman. I'm going to take out my samurai sword, and I'm gonna go, you don't actually care. I'm gonna bring out my Jew accent, and I'm gonna go, you don't actually care about Americans. I'm going to get the party to destroy it. I'm gonna get the party to destroy it. Listen, folks, Chuck Schumer is our Mitch McConnell, and I think that it's about time that we said it. He is just kind of this slovenly, melting fuck who's just been there way too long, who only succeeds in getting in the way of meaningful legislation. He is a Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi's a gangster. And finally, that old bird is finally stepping down. I'm sorry. Not to say that I'm happy that folks like, Ilhan Omar are becoming the new bad bitches of the Democratic Party. I'm not happy about it. But in exchange for, Dianne Feinstein finally heading out, Nancy Pelosi not running to represent her colony again, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with the old bitches heading out, because I was never a fan of them. Quite frankly, Nancy Pelosi, she's a decent figure for the Democrats, but she was always a figure of very much like Mitch McConnell, of standing in the way of the opposition and minorly furthering your own agenda. Minorly. She was decent at politicking, but she was like Frank Underwood. She was a shitty majority whip. She was a shitty minority whip. She was not solid at what she did. I'm sorry. She was just... I have complex views about Nancy Pelosi, her character, her stock trading, that if you want to get into her insider bullshit that she tries to pull on a lot of people, you know what I mean? You can make millions if you just follow her trades, by the way. Thank God that she will not be there to permeate Wall Street anymore with her... listen... I'm sorry for those folks that have been making millions mimicking her trade deals. She's on her way out. Chuck Schumer also needs to be on his way out. This guy is not a fella. Hakeem Jeffries, I'll give him one thing. He had a bit of a sense of humor about the sombrero. And that's the most that we can ask for. You know what I mean? Amid the deal's momentum, President Trump amplified tensions by targeting air traffic controllers in a fiery Truth Social post on November 10th, demanding they, quote, get back to work now, and threatening to dock pay for absences, labeling the shutdown a, quote, Democratic hoax. He pledged a recommended $10,000 in bonuses for the roughly 13,000 controllers who worked without pay, calling them, quote, great patriots, while warning that those who call in sick are a, quote, will have a, quote, negative mark on their records, and suggesting they, quote, leave the service. This followed Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy's announcements of flight reductions and FAA incentives like retention bonuses amid reports of controller fatigue contributing to delays. Unions decried the rhetoric as coercive, noting the system's pre-existing shortages, only two-thirds staffed since 2013, by the way. It's a little bit ridiculous. No one talks about it because we all managed to get places safe. People who fly for business and shit like that make their flights regularly. No average Joe is flying every month, you know what I mean? So we just never notice, it's whatever. As Congress reconvenes, the deal offers relief but underscores ongoing divides. Democrats eye the 2026 midterms as leverage for ACA fixes. Not going to happen. Sorry, the Affordable Care Act. Guys, you know what could have helped a lot of this? Having a private option, excuse me. I'm retarded. I'm so high that I'm just like I'm ranting about how we could have fixed Obamacare years ago before we had any sort of whatever. You know what I mean? While Republicans hail it as fiscal restraint, if finalized, it resets Washington's gridlock, but without deeper reforms, another shutdown looms in February. Because, guys, it'll never be the end. It'll never truly be the end. It'll never truly be over for us. We will always come back to this because I love the way that this was phrased. I heard this once. We eat at the table, we go to the restaurant, we eat, and your mom and your dad bring you. Your mom's the Democrat. She's the kind of sweet one. She is like a little more understanding, but she has that feminine. You know how femininity has such a distinct way of being rageful with you? They never tell you directly that they're rageful with you, but they will stab you under the table. They will be cunty. They will be fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And I'm going to smile at you from over the table because I don't want people to realize how much I hate you right now. That sort of anger is not useful. I've noticed that it's being used a lot in the party. I'm not in favor of that. You know what I mean? That type of anger that kind of resonates in people, that fuck them, kill them. It's going to be the thing that you watch your mom do that to your dad, and then your dad is, he's a bit of an old timer. He's a bit of a he doesn't have the clearest views of the world. He thinks that a lot of the times people they're lazy and that's how they got disadvantaged to the place that they are, and he's not always wrong. He's not always wrong, by the way. Your mom, though, she's the one that's going to be giving panhandlers money. She's going to be the one that's offering maybe the community get together and figure out a home for them, something like that. And then you go to the restaurant with your dad the Republican and your mom the Democrat, and then every time that you guys go out to eat, you have this beautiful, actually never mind. It's not a beautiful meal. It's a decent restaurant, you know what I mean? You're alive at the end of the day. You go to work every day, you know what I mean? You pay your taxes. And at the end of the day, you're alive. You have minute rice and you have chicken for dinner, and then you and your mom and your dad are satisfied. And then at the end, the bill comes due, and then your mom and your dad look at each other and they debate about whether or not to pay the bill. And we never actually have paid the bill, by the way, guys. We are at the restaurant still. We've been here for 200 years. The bill is $38 trillion now, and mom and dad are still yelling at each other. Your mom is yelling that we have to pay a certain amount. We have to delegate a certain amount of money that we don't even have to people who are disadvantaged. And your dad is yelling at her for being dumb and caring about other people and saying that they need to fix their own problems, and the majority of the time that we just need to fund the basic shit to eat. But like, guess what? We're already $38 trillion too low. And then your mom and your dad fight, and then you just sit there the entire time as the American voter, and then most of the time, if there's other kids there, they're like half the time they're on dad's side, half of them they're on mom's side, and you talk to them and they're like, well, if mom got her way, then we would have already paid the bill and we would have been out of here by now. And then you talk to the other side and they're like, well, mom is a fucking villain and dad is just the fucking common sense one who wants to get us out of this fucking restaurant. And then you're sitting there and you're like, the food is cold. The food is cold. There's nothing to drink. Mom and dad have finished their wine. There's nothing there for us to, every parent, by the way, will be like, we're not getting up until I finish my drink, because they pay. To be fair, I didn't understand that until I started paying for drinks at restaurants and I realized how expensive they are. So kids, if your parents say, sit down, I'm finishing my beer, sit down, they're finishing their beer. Sorry, every kid needs to hear that. But that is a good illustration of the modern state of American politics. Your dad has that rage in him, that masculine rage, the Republican rage, where it's kind of, it's self-reliant, but it's fuck everybody else, and my family's the only thing that matters to me. And they barely matter to me because they're an extension of my narcissistic view of myself. And then your mom claims that she cares about everybody so deeply, and that she is the Democratic view. She is the one that is like compassion first, whatever first. But when your mom is mad at you, everybody knows that it is 10 times more painful and hurtful to have your mom mad at you than your dad. It's factually accurate that when you feel a woman's scorn, it is 10 times worse. It's just 10 times worse. It's factually true. Men will suck the air out of the room. Women will suck it out and they will blow it back at you with 10 times the force that you could ever generate from inside your soul. It's a nuclear generator, you know what I mean? It's whatever. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful system to watch what's it called? Your mom and your dad go at it, your Republican and your Democrat family. And then at the end of the day, you're going to go hungry. You're going to go hungry, and the restaurant check is not going to be paid. The cops are going to be called. And you know who the cops are? The cops are China. The cops are China coming in at the end of the day, and they're going to buy all the real estate. They're going to buy all the farmland. They're going to buy everything that we have. And then you're going to be like, fuck it, whatever. All right, social credit score. My farmland that's been in my family for generations, we lost it. It's owned by someone who lives in Kaohsiung now. It's like, you're going to lose everything at the end of it. And your parents argued and they didn't pay the bill, and now they were killed. They got bullets in the head by the regime, and now you're done. You're a worker and you're putting together iPhones for people in Europe, and then they're the next colony to fall. I'm sorry, they're the next one to go. Folks, I'm glad that I could paint this beautiful picture of rage, of anger, of where our government sits, of how it's like, I think that compassion, although we claim as Democrats that it motivates us, a lot of the times compassion is a mask for cuntiness. It can be, at least. We need to be as honest as possible. That for the most part, this is a lot of the times why I respect Republicans, for the sense that they will tell you how self-serving they are. They'll tell you how they don't care about anybody else but their family. They don't care about anybody else but their community. They will go smaller on scale until you realize they eventually do just care about themselves. They care about their children. They care about their wives, because they care about the way that these creatures make them feel. They care about the way that these creatures around them are, like, service their self-image, whatever. It's a very dangerous way of thinking, but it's honest, and it's deeply narcissistic. It's deeply, my image, my legacy, my family, whatever. The other side of it is like compassion to the point where I'm willing to service such a big agenda. I'm willing to mother the entire community around me. It's the opposite of it. The masculine urge, I've noticed the majority of the time, is to build up one's self-image through your family and shit. And the other one, if you're a caring person, if you were raised with the more motherly instinct of caring about people who suffer, that can be twisted by people who are even more narcissistic into grand systems of social credit scores, of like it's nanny states at that point. It's fighting this weird pull between like a fatherly urge to kick your son out of the nest or whatever, and this urge to coddle to grave, kind of like, oh well, we want to make sure that our citizens don't make the wrong move, kind of a thing. It's like it's completely, you have to choose between which style you want. If you want, like me, you prefer that sort of like, maybe we can work with the motherly angle, maybe we can work with the feminine energy of the Democrats, maybe we can bend that for goodwill, because I think that, quite frankly, when you care about other people and you service those around you, it generally is way better for humanity. But then you have to fight twice as hard to make sure that those psychos, because once you do everything that the Democrats want to do, once you want to put these grand systems of control in, these grand systems of surveillance, of carbon taxing, of all of these sorts of things, once you've put all that in, you have to do twice the work to make sure that you have the right people running it, because if the wrong people get their hands on this system, then it's willy-nilly and you never know what's going to happen. It's Stalin, it's Russia, it's everything, it's whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I think that overall, you can take the system of motherly care and not fatherly, get your shit together independence. I think that that's an absolute good idea for nation states. It's not a good idea if it's taken into the wrong hands by the people who want to abuse it. And more often than not, it's people with a masculine urge to rebuild the nation in their image. So in a weird way, it's corrupted. It's corrupted by that masculine urge again. I don't know where I'm going on this. It's a grand tale about how I believe that there is a overall arching vibe to these parties that you can draw a line through, and you have to pick which one you can service. And I choose the Democratic Party, even though I think we got to clean our shit up. We got to clean up the people who represent us a bit, because quite frankly, they're making us look like nuts. I'm done with that one, folks, because guess what? We have the rapid fire section of today's headlines. If you don't know this, I get into a few of today's... Actually, wait a minute. We have the Democrats defending the United States government shutdown from Wall Street Journal. Here we go.
Today, the Senate
The vote. Here it is.
to start reopening the government. We took a big step forward to protect the health care of tens of millions of Americans
Heck yeah.
in exchange for funding through January 31st. This agreement will give Democrats control of the Senate floor for a vote on one of our top legislative priorities, extending the Affordable Care Act premium tax credits. This is important when Republicans control every branch of government.
This agreement funds SNAP and food assistance programs, ensures that law enforcement, air traffic controllers, and other federal workers get paid, reverses the president's recent reckless layoffs and prevents them from happening in the future, and crucially, gives Congress a clear path forward to protecting people's health care.
But here's the thing. We can open the government and we can still fight to address this looming healthcare crisis.
Hell yeah.
It is true. Right now, in our states and across the country, Americans are seeing higher costs, higher premiums for their Affordable Care Act.
Yeah, it's too late.
These are people that need access to health care. I have families that rely on the Affordable Care Act and these subsidies so that their children who have a rare disease can access their medication.
Well, there you go. There you go, folks. Holding the government hostage, holding the people's money hostage was never a good move. As if you look at how the people were voting this entire time, Republicans, I don't want to give them this credit. We're voting to open it this entire time. Yes, it's admittedly because they were going to get whatever they wanted in the end. But Democrats, it was never a good idea for us to try to think that we held any of the cards. We're going to get them with this. We're going to make sure that they don't raise the subsidy by holding the government hostage and denying payment, by denying SNAP benefits. And then, like, when the government generally goes like, well, let's just reopen and let's just pay those SNAP benefits again, the Democrats went, well, you have other money for that. Not that we care about the fact that other people are not getting paid and shit like that. We only care about the SNAP EBT things getting funded, and you have other money for that. We don't give a shit about the other people not getting paid or anything like that. And then the Democrats continue to vote not in favor of it. It was never a good opportunity. It was never a good idea. We never had the leverage that we thought we did. it was just a bad idea, and this will always, I think, personally, if you take the historic angle of this, which I always try to do, I always try to think as big as possible, on as big, as grand a scale as possible. If you don't think about this as 2025, I don't know, whatever you are, liberal from Kentucky or something, take yourself out of that. Literally, like, look at this from the perspective of someone going 200 years from now. Oh, the people of 2025, what did they think of this very weird time in history? And I think that it's going to be a stain, if the Democrats are still around at that point, on the Democratic Party as a sign. If you look back at it and you look back at the facts, the Republicans held all the cards. It was never a time for us to get all hoity-toity on our negotiation. It was never our era. It was never our opportunity, and we were stupid to think that it was. So I think that this, if you really take the educated angle of it, you're not going to view it as a win for the Democrats. You're going to view it as a stain. It was enough to get us a little bit of votes. November 4th, it was enough to get us a little bit of a win there. But that's only because we were when the Democratic media wheel circles something, we really are good at making it either disappear or be amplified. And we are good at amplifying how it's Republicans' fault, and we were really good at suppressing the credible accusations against Doug Emhoff sexually assaulting and beating his former girlfriend. We are really good at taking those things that are factually accurate, factually true, and out there, where he was credibly accused by his girlfriend of beating her up and then sexually assaulting her. There is just an instinct and an ability in the Democratic mind to go like, well, no, that's like, he's just a silly guy, and he can get played on SNL by Andy Samberg, and he'll just be goofy. He's just her husband. I'm not saying that it even incriminates her in any way. I'm just saying, like, you guys want to talk about how many scandals Trump's whatever wives have. You want to talk about how many scandals his kids have and whatnot. I think it's absolutely valid to talk about people's families and whatnot. And I didn't want the first gentleman to be a wife beater. I thought that was a bad image, quite frankly. Am I saying that he does it to Kamala? Of course not. I think that he's learned his lesson. I think he's learned his lesson that smiling and being the goofy, dad kind of figure with his tatted up daughter, I think that he's realized that that's the best way to move forward. So, I think that it was really easy for the Democrats to fool themselves this time, that we were in the right, we were the ones calling the shots, we were the ones that were trying to fight for ACA. We got to call ourselves out a little bit, and we have to say that this was never the time to think we had leverage. And if you're an honest Democrat, you can look your own party in the eyes and you can say that. Folks, the rapid fire section of today's headlines, I grab a 9 or 10 of today's major headlines that I think are important to keep your media diet healthy. So, let's go. Super Typhoon Feng Wang devastates the Philippines. The storm is one of the year's strongest. It has killed 4 people and displaced over 1.4 million, causing landslides, isolating towns in the Aurora province. Winds have eased up to 120 to 150 kilometers per hour and has shifted toward Taiwan following Typhoon Kalmaigi's death toll. It's also following its path. Whatever, I'm retarded. Twin car blasts rock delis of Red Fort area explosions near the historic site, injured 30 and killed at least 17. The vehicle in flames and a possible terrorist link under investigation. Police have secured the scene amid the heightened security ahead of the Bihar elections. Good luck for Delhi. I mean, I don't know how much people really care about India, but I always try to keep something from the Eastern world in here. The Supreme Court, folks. The Supreme Court has rejected the challenge to same-sex marriage, ruling justices denied Kim Davis's bid to revisit the 2015 Obergefell decision, upholding the nationwide legalization and closing a decade-old controversy from her refusal to issue licenses. The Supreme Court, folks, there was a reason to be, a little tiny bit worried, as Clarence Thomas is one of those folks that'll make people nervous and whatnot. Amy Coney Barrett is a lot more common sense than people give her credit. A lot of people just hate her because she was the replacement for the Yes Bitch, RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Yes Bitch, and we Yes Bitched her into the grave. She should have retired years ago when it was Obama's term, so we could have filled her spot. She was too damn old, and anybody who disagrees with that, I'm sorry, you are the reason that Amy Coney Barrett's on the Supreme Court, and she deserves that spot. She deserves it. Sorry. Sorry, she deserves it. She deserves it. They won it. Mitch McConnell played the long game. I'm sorry, every seat on the Supreme Court that Republicans stole from us, they deserved and they earned, and they absolutely did, because we were fucking idiots. We were idiots who never played the long game, who never organized around a candidate. Merrick Garland, I'm so glad that we never actually got him on the Supreme Court. That fucking idiot was the worst AG of my entire lifetime. That's no exaggeration. He should have gone after Trump on the not on the 34 felonies for business shit that was never persecuted that way before in New York City, not New York City, New York State history. He should have gone after him for incitement of insurrection if he wanted to go after him for anything. But he was an idiot. He was just a stumbling, bumbling Barney Fife type where he was like, oh, there's a problem. We gotta do something. He was just a fucking idiot, and he never actually did anything. William Barr, my biological father, was a better AG than any Democrat has ever chosen in any of their lives. Folks, yeah, the Supreme Court, they're saying, nope, fuck you. The gay people can do that, whatever, it's fine. That's what this is a conservative leaning court, people, and they're not even striking down gay marriage. By the way, everybody on TikTok, every fucking gay couple that I saw on TikTok was using, and it's Gen Z and it's millennials that are going on, and they're like hugging in front of a lake, and they're going, November 7th, the Supreme Court is going to consider whether or not we are real. You'll have to pry her from my cold, dead hands. And it's like a butch lesbian, and they're hugging on a beach, and they got their dog and shit. And it's like, you were never at risk. Do you really have that much of a victim complex that you think that LGBTQ people, out of brown people, people who are immigrated illegally and shit like that, you really think that you are going to be on the totem pole at all to be thrown in camps? Everybody, by the way, that I talk to like this, who has the Democratic mind virus, goes like, yeah, I'm a member of the LGBTQ plus thing. I'm shaking at night because I'm terrified that Germany is on its way back and we're going to be thrown into camps. I'm like, every person who I've talked to who they need to get off the fucking internet. They need to stay a little more in the common sense realm of how, Donald Trump is genuinely not a person who enjoys suffering, except for in the sense where he's probably one of the most anti-war candidates I've met that I've seen in my lifetime. Obama is kind of more in the sense where I agree with him on a lot, where I agree that I'm not against all war, I'm against stupid wars. I think that's a beautiful policy to have, and I'm more aligned with Obama in that sense. But Trump is just anti-war in general, in the sense where he's a peace guy. He's one where he will push forward those sorts of things, and then he will also be like, yeah, Russia, take Ukraine, take whatever parts of Ukraine you want. Am I in favor of that? Absolutely not. I'm not in favor of that. I'm not in favor of also lying to the Ukrainians and saying that they're going to get all their land back. I'm a realist to the end. And that's why everybody hates me. Everybody hates me because I cannot just seem to like stick on their side. I always got to like, well, you're not right 100% on that. You're not right 100% on that. Do you really know anything about this situation? And then they get mad at you, and then they just like, it's whatever. It's okay. It's okay. That's okay. It's whatever. You don't have to be mad at me just because I'm not beholden to the decrees from, Rachel Maddow or Ari from MSNBC. I'm sorry that or literally Jesse Waters from Fox News. I'm sorry that I'm not beholden to these edicts that are delivered on national TV or via Democrat and Republican mouthpieces. I'm sorry that I don't 100% get behind everybody all the time. You know what I mean? Except for I'm going to vote for RFK, and I would have voted for him if he was an independent, and if he actually had a chance last election, I would have voted for him. He was my Ross Perot candidate, and he will be next election. Listen, if the Democrats can't get behind RFK, the guy who wanted to be a Democrat last time, and then now has a bunch of the Maha people, the Make America Healthy people. That's a large chunk of the right wing. You could easily indoctrinate a couple of people. This is an opportunity to bridge the gap, folks. Democrats, if you're out there, if it's not going to be fucking what's his name, Dean Phillips, if it's not going to be not Dean Withers, shut up, Gen Z, shut up. I don't care about that blonde twink and his anxiety pen. Shut up. If you're not going to pick a common sense moderate, or John Fetterman, if you really want to go for it, John Fetterman. He's a stroke victim, but he performed better than Mehmet Oz on the debate stage. He's also pretty solid at bridging the gap. What am I supposed to say? If you're not willing to pick someone brave like that, go with someone that's kind of a lukewarm. Trump issues pardons to 2020 election allies. The president forgave figures like Rudy Giuliani for efforts including challenging the results, drawing criticism for undermining accountability, and fueling debates over executive overreach. Rudy Giuliani, leave the man alone. He is hanging out. I don't know where he's at. He's I don't know, dying his roots again, because I love that one famous press conference where his dye started to leak down the sides of his face. It was awesome. It was really cool. Israel builds border wall deep in southern Lebanon. Construction began on the structure up to a kilometer inside Lebanese territory near Tehran, signaling potential annexation and escalating regional tensions post-conflict. Yes, sure. Israel, can't you just you listen? Are you going to expel the Arabs from South Lebanon now? Like, listen. Have your little territory, and by the way, they're very friendly generally to Arabs when it comes to the Arab population. Like, there's more Arabs living in Israel than there are any Jews living in any Arab country anywhere. And if no one wants to talk to you about that, then they're not honest. It's whatever. It's okay. Thailand suspends the U.S. brokered peace deal with Cambodia. Bangkok halted the truce after a landmine injured Thai soldiers, accusing Phnom Penh of violations and straining Southeast Asia diplomacy. Southeast Asia in general, keep an eye on the trade routes and you'll be fine. That's it. That's all you got to worry about. The rest of those countries are flyover countries. I'm sorry, but it's honest. You got to be honest. U.S. airstrike kills 3 in the Caribbean drug trade. Drug raid, excuse me. Military targeted a boat suspected of trafficking and part of intensified anti-narcotic efforts, but raised concerns over civilian risks while in international waters jurisdiction. If we're, just blowing up more of these people where they're bringing illegal shit into the country, we're going to kill them. I love that press conference that he gave. He's like, we're going to kill them. They're going to be, like, dead. That's probably my new favorite line from Trump in this administration. We're going to kill them. They're going to be, like, dead. Folks, this is our third and final story because I really don't want to waste any more of your time. I know that it's 46 minutes, and I know that I've already asked for too much of it. BBC, Big Black Cock, or British Broadcasting Corporation News has a leadership shakeup among sussy editing of a Trump speech for a documentary. I mean, BBC, what am I supposed to expect? I watch them every now and then because I think it is pretty good to get your information from. I generally trust the Brits to be pretty neutral on issues. I also go to Sky News from Australia and shit. A really good way to get kind of, I don't know how to put it, on the ground, kind of in the middle takes. A really good way to get those is to go overseas, and then English media. So I'm talking England, they have Australia, New Zealand, the English-speaking Western countries. If they do stories about America, they generally run pretty decent when it comes to, like, they'll be more honest than... in America, you got to read the New York Post and the New York Times if you want to get an honest view of it. In most other countries, they generally have no lean either way. They tend to tell it how it is. Not the case for every publication, but just something that I've noticed. The controversy erupted in late October when a leaked 19-page memo from a former BBC external advisor, Michael Prescott, a nonpartisan ex-political journalist, accused broadcasters of a serious and systemic bias in coverage. The memo, first published by The Telegraph on November 2nd, singled out a 2024 Panorama investigation documentary titled Trump, A Second Chance? Which examined Donald Trump's potential return to the White House. At its core was an editing decision that spliced together non-consecutive excerpts from Trump's January 6th, 2021 speech at Ellipse in Washington, D.C. In the original address, Trump said, "We're going to walk down to the Capitol and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women. before adding, quote, "I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard." The BBC's edit juxtaposed the march line with later remarks to, quote, "fight like hell," omitting the peaceful qualifier, which critics argued created a misleading impression that Trump explicitly incited the Capitol riot that followed. Admittedly, that is a pretty shitty way to fucking splice it. If you want to accuse him of incitement, don't splice, don't edit, don't just play his shit, and it will kind of speak for itself, I feel. Whatever. That was dumb as fuck. Now every person who goes January 6th was an actual, big thing, which I believe it was. I believe it was a big day for American democracy. I don't believe we were overturned. I don't believe that we were on the precipice of it being taken over, like a lot of fucking loonies were. I believe that a bunch of fucking losers went into the Capitol to wear hats. I don't believe that it was near the end of democracy, like a lot of loonier people do. Prescott's dossier also flagged biases in BBC's Arabic and Israel-Gaza reporting, alleging favoritism towards the pro-Hamas sources and undue influence from the LGBTQ+ staff on gender issues, amplifying long-standing right-wing complaints about the BBC's impartiality mandate under its royal charter. The backlash intensified rapidly, fueled by UK conservatives, international figures, and on social media. Within days, BBC chairman Samir Sa, that's not surprising, issued a public apology on November 5th, calling the edit an, quote, error of judgment and ordering an internal review while defending the corporation's overall journalistic standards. President Trump, fresh off his 2024 re-election victory, seized the story via Truth Social, posting on November 9th, quote, "The top people in the BBC, including Tim Dave, the boss, are all quitting/fired because they were caught doctoring my very good, perfect speech of January 6th. These are very dishonest people who have tried to step on the scales of the presidential election. What a terrible thing for democracy." His press secretary echoed this, branding the BBC as 100% fake news. In the UK, conservative leader Kemi Badenoch demanded top-to-bottom reforms. Liberal Democrat Ed Davey urged a new leaf and a reform parties UK. Nigel Farage, hell yes, Nigel. I'm a big fan of Nigel. I think that he's all right. He's a bit, he's a little out there sometimes, but I generally like Nigel Farage. I think that he would make a fine prime minister. He hailed it as the BBC's, quote, last chance. Cultural Secretary Lisa Natty expressed confidence in the board's handling, but later thanked outgoing leaders for their service. The scandal's timing amid the post-election scrutiny of the media bias drew comparisons to past BBC crises, like in the 2003 Hutton inquiry, and sparked debates on whether the public broadcaster's £3.8 billion licensing fee justifies such lapses. On November 9th, the crisis reached its zenith with simultaneous resignations of the director General Tim Davey and the new CEO Deborah Turness. In a move BBC insiders described as unprecedented and sacrificial to shield the institution from further damage. Davey, a 20-year-old BBC veteran who assumed the top role in 2020, amid the pandemic, announced his departure as, quote, entirely my decision, stating in an email to 22,000 staff, quote, overall the BBC is delivering well, but there have been some mistakes made as the Director General, I have to take ultimate responsibility. He pledged to stay on for months to ensure the smooth transition, leaving the board stunned. Per Reuters source, Turness, who joined in 2022 after leading NBC News and ITV, emphasized accountability. Quote, the ongoing controversy around the panorama on President Trump has reached a stage where it's causing damage to the BBC, an institution that I love. In public life, leaders have to be fully accountable, and that's why I'm stepping down. Her oversight of 6,000 journalists broadcasting 500 million viewers worldwide made her exit particularly systemic. What am I saying? The duo's departures amid no formal firings were seen by some as a preemptive strike against the Ofcom regulators or parliamentary inquiries, though the Guardian columnist Jane Martinson decried it as capitulation to, quote, a coordinated, politically motivated attack from right-wing outlets. As the dust settles, the BBC faces an uncertain path forward, with calls for structural changes like the splitting of the directors, generals, corporate, and editorial roles, as suggested by ex-BBC executive Helen Bowden. Vowed to prioritize impartiality reforms and including enhanced fact-checking protocols for high-profile edits, while rejecting Prescott's broader bias claims as overstated. Trump's threat of a $1 billion lawsuit against the BBC, also floated on November 10th, adds to the transatlantic tension, potentially complicating U.S.-UK media relations. Domestically, the resignations have unified critics but divided supporters. Progressives fear that the conservative purge, while fiscal hawks questions the BBC's funding model. With Davies' successor search underway, possibly eyeing figures like the ex-ITV boss Carol McCall, the episode underscores the perils of covering polarizing figures like Trump in the era of deepfakes and instant outrage. For now, the Panorama episode has been pulled from the BBC iPlayer pending revisions, serving as a stark reminder that in global journalism, one splice can topple empires. If you feel like editing just a teensy bit in order to get your agenda across, it's not going to go over well for you. Let's hear a little bit from the BBC themselves.
Some breaking news to bring you about the BBC. The BBC chairman has announced that both the Director General, Tim Davie, and the new CEO, Deborah Turness, are to resign. And let's bring you more on that story. Our culture reporter, Noor Nanji, is with me here. So tell us about the background to this and about the resignation statements.
Yeah, that's right. Really significant news that's just come to us in the last few minutes. So both the BBC's Director General, Tim Davie, but also Deborah Turness, who is the CEO of News, both resigning. We've just had that, as I say, in the last few minutes. Now, in a statement, the BBC chairman, Samar Shah, said this is a sad day for the BBC. He said Tim has been an outstanding Director General for the last 5 years. He has propelled the BBC forward with determination, single-mindedness and foresight. He also said that he has the full support of me and the board throughout. But he said that he understands the continued pressure on him, both personally and professionally, has led him to take this decision today. He said the whole board respects that decision and the reasons for it. Now,
all right, cool. So that's fun. I'm sorry to the people at the BBC who have lost their jobs, or really it looks like they've resigned. Good for them. If you were biasing the great people of Britain, first, shame on you. Shame on you for trying to bias the people of Britain. That country's divided enough as is. You can't walk down the street without a knife. You know what I mean? You got to protect yourself. But here's my advice to everybody who wants to learn anything about the UK. Watch Piers Morgan Uncensored. That is the best thing to come out of that country since the United States. No lie, Piers Morgan Uncensored is it's a great source to get some serious internal debates. It's where the bitch from Baby Reindeer got interviewed. It's a game changer. It's a move maker over there in the UK. Folks, I think that'll do it for this episode. I really appreciate you staying along as long as you did, getting your news from me, talking, just enjoying your time with me. This has been Your Brain on Air with Ollie Vogt Larson. Thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.